Welcome to the Sleeping Podcast. Today, we're diving deep into a collection of really disturbing unsolved mysteries. These span decades, different places.
Mhm.
It's quite a range.
Mhm.
We've got a lot of ground to cover, looking at cases that have just, well, baffled investigators and, still capture the public imagination.
They really do stick with you, these kinds of stories.
Yeah, and we're not just doing quick summaries here. We want to really unpack the key details, look at the strange circumstances, and explore those lingering questions. Hopefully, you'll get a real sense of the core of each mystery.
Right. Trying to understand what makes them tick,
Mhm.
why they remain unsolved.
Exactly. Our journey is going to take us from the disappearance of a little boy back in the 50s all the way up to more recent vanishings and homicides.
We'll be looking at the evidence, the theories floating around.
And the human side of it all, too. What made these cases so tough to crack and why we still remember them so vividly.
It is remarkable how they persist, isn't it? Despite the time passed, different places,
Yeah.
they grab our attention. I think they tap into something fundamental,
Yeah.
our anxieties, our need for answers when things are just unknown.
Definitely.
And as we go through these, maybe we'll see some patterns, how investigations work, what kind of evidence pops up.
Yeah, and the challenges involved.
Exactly. The sheer difficulty in solving some of these mysteries.
Okay, so let's start way back. 1959, Vineland, New Jersey. The disappearance of little Billy Jones,
hmm
a 3-year-old boy.
Just vanished. It's heartbreaking. What strikes you about the immediate response back then?
Well, what's really revealing is just how immediate and frankly overwhelming the community response was.
Right.
I mean, really fast, over 500 people showed up, some from pretty far away apparently, all there to help search.
500. Wow.
Yeah, and the local high school even let students out of class to join the search. That just tells you something about the impact, the collective shock.
It really paints a picture of a different time, maybe. Stronger community ties, perhaps. But this huge mobilization, land, water searches, even the National Guard got involved.
Yeah.
It shows the deep concern that a child could just disappear like that.
And the search itself sounds incredibly thorough. They went through woods, swamps,
hmm Treacherous areas.
and this place called the Palace of Depression, which was basically an old car junkyard.
Yeah, an abandoned auto dump.
Yeah.
Sounds almost surreal, doesn't it?
It really does. And they dug there extensively.
They did, which shows the desperation, I think, and the thoroughness. They were checking every possibility, no matter how odd.
That Palace of Depression, it was some kind of local landmark before.
Sort of an eccentric one, yeah. It became this focal point, showing how investigators really have to consider everything, even the unconventional stuff.
And the mayor even went on the radio.
Yeah, direct appeal. Again, showing how invested the community was, hoping someone, anyone, saw something.
But despite all that effort, nothing.
Nothing at all. No trace of him. That's what's so deeply unsettling and why people still talk about it. It makes you question the limits of even the biggest searches.
Now, early on, there were a couple of things that looked like clues, but didn't pan out. That plastic poinsettia, Billy's sister had it.
Right. And for a bit, they thought it might link to a flower vendor nearby.
Classic kind of lead, isn't it? Something small seems huge at first.
Exactly. It's a perfect example of how early leads can be misleading. Seemed logical, connected to a vendor.
But then,
Turned out it was just something retrieved from a neighbor's trash. The kids were just passing it around. It highlights how crucial verification is. You can waste so much time chasing something unrelated.
you really need that skeptical eye, don't you?
Definitely. Even for promising clues.
And then there was the family dog, the basset hound, baby cakes,
Ah, yes, baby cakes.
found soaking wet not far from the house. That's just weird.
It is a genuinely odd detail. It adds another layer. I mean, it suggests the dog was near water, obviously.
But was it connected to Billy?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Uh,
Did the dog follow Billy somewhere near water? Did something happen near water involving both of them? Or was it just a coincidence? Something totally unrelated that just adds to the fog.
Yeah, these kinds of loose ends are what keep these cases going, fuel the speculation.
Precisely.
Then things took a bit of an unconventional turn. A psychic got involved.
Mm-hmm. Reportedly gave a very detailed description of a car. Even the person supposedly responsible.
Wow. What's your take on that kind of input in an investigation? How do police handle that?
Well, psychics getting involved,
Yeah.
it happens. Sometimes they offer details that seem accurate later, anecdotally, but it very, very rarely leads to actual evidence or arrests or solving the case.
So even with specifics.
Right. The psychic here offered specifics, but there was zero independent corroborating evidence. So, understandably, that lead just fizzled out. Law enforcement has to rely on tangible stuff, things you can test, verify in court.
Makes sense. They might note it down, but low priority without facts.
Exactly. It often speaks more to the desperation when the usual leads run dry.
But then, years later, Billy's sister Jill underwent hypnosis.
Yes, this was much later.
And she recalled this incredibly vivid scene at the Palace of Depression, holding Billy's hand.
Right, and witnessing two men fighting near an oil drum fire.
And then the most chilling part, remembering running home alone. That must have blown the case wide open again, potentially.
Oh, undoubtedly. Jill's memory under hypnosis provided this deeply disturbing narrative and a specific location tied to Billy. The fight, the fire. It offered a plausible, if terrifying, explanation. Maybe he wandered into something dangerous, or was an unintended victim.
And that detail about running home alone, seeing the door, so tragic.
Absolutely. It would have definitely renewed interest, intense interest, in the Palace of Depression as a potential crime scene, even though nothing was found there before.
But even with this renewed focus, more searching, maybe more digging, still nothing.
Still nothing. No physical evidence found at the palace to back up Jill's hypnotic memory.
It's like that place just refuses to give up its secrets. What does that say about memory recovered through hypnosis?
Well, it really highlights the challenges, doesn't it? Relying on memory, especially accessed via hypnosis, while it can sometimes unlock things, its reliability, especially legally, is heavily debated,
Right, it can be influenced.
easily. Susceptible to suggestion, distortion, even creating false memories. So while it might give investigators new angles, you have to treat it with extreme caution. You absolutely need independent, tangible proof.
Which they just didn't have here.
Exactly. The lack of corroboration really underscores the limitations of hypnosis as an investigative tool in this instance.
Okay, fast forward again, 2009. The case is officially reopened.
Driven by advancements in technology?
DNA, modern techniques. The FBI even put out age-progressed photos, right? What Billy might look like as an adult.
Yes. That must have offered a real glimmer of hope for the family and for investigators.
Reopening cold cases with new tech is pretty standard now, I guess.
It's critical. DNA tech can analyze tiny traces now, things impossible back then, searching databases for family links.
And the age-progressed photos, someone might recognize him.
That's the hope. Someone might have encountered him over the years not knowing who he was, and submitting Jill's DNA to databases that opens up possibilities too, finding unknown family connections.
And the FBI getting involved again shows they weren't giving up.
Definitely. It signals a continued commitment, underscores the seriousness.
But here we are, January 2025, and it's still unsolved.
Sadly, yes. One of the oldest missing children cases under 5 in New Jersey.
It's just heartbreaking. After all this time, all the effort, still no answers about what happened to him.
It's a profound tragedy. The uncertainty must be unbearable for the family. But the fact that the FBI and local police keep the case open, it shows these things aren't forgotten.
There's always that hope, I suppose. New information, a witness comes forward.
Or a future breakthrough in science. Plus, the interest in cold cases online now. Public empathy is strong. People want justice for victims like Billy Jones.
Okay, from that haunting case of a missing child, let's shift gears completely. A different kind of disaster mystery. The sinking of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald.
Ah, yes. Lake Superior, 1975. A legendary Great Lakes shipwreck.
Not just one person vanishing, but an entire crew of 29 men and this massive ship just gone during a huge November storm. What stands out about the Fitzgerald itself, its final trip?
Well, the first thing is just its sheer size and reputation. Launched in 58, 729 feet long. A real giant for its time.
A workhorse.
Exactly. A record-setting carrier of taconite pellets for nearly 2 decades. So for a ship like that, experienced captain, experienced crew to just disappear so fast, so completely, it's almost unbelievable.
And the timeline we have, the worsening weather, the radio calls, it paints a really grim picture.
It does. You can almost track the escalating crisis. The gale warnings, the storm intensifying, then those troubling radio messages. It shows a vessel battling something truly ferocious. Underscores the power of the Great Lakes, even for big ships.
It does feel like watching a disaster movie unfold in those radio calls. Captain McSorley first reporting some topside damage, taking on water.
Yeah, that sounds serious.
But then he says both big pumps are running, which suggests they were managing it, right? Feeling maybe they could handle it at that point.
Yes, that initial report, while worrying, doesn't scream imminent disaster. Ships like the Fitzgerald are designed to handle some damage, some water intake, especially in heavy seas. Running both pumps is the standard response. It suggests McSorley and the crew were doing the right things. Probably felt they had it under control initially.
But things obviously got worse.
Much worse, and quickly, based on the later calls.
The big turning point seems to be when both radar systems failed.
Critical. Absolutely critical.
Losing your eyes in a storm like that on a huge lake must have been terrifying.
Utterly. Radar is essential for avoiding collisions, seeing hazards, knowing where the shore is, especially with low visibility. Losing both severely limits situational awareness, ramps up the risk massively.
And they had to rely on the other ship nearby, the SS Arthur M. Anderson, for radar plots.
Yes, Captain Cooper on the Anderson.
Yeah.
It highlights their growing vulnerability, their isolation, but also, that solidarity among mariners, helping each other out.
Then there's the detail about not picking up the Whitefish Point radio beacon. That was their guide to safety, wasn't it, to Whitefish Bay?
Essentially, yes, a vital navigational aid. Not being able to receive that signal in that storm after losing radar, it would have compounded their navigation problems hugely. Added to the sense of being lost, the mercy of the storm, took away a key tool for finding safety.
And the last communication, Captain McSorley's famous words to the Anderson, "We are holding our own."
Chilling, in retrospect.
So iconic because of what happened literally minutes later.
Those words carry such weight now. Stoicism, resilience, maybe even tragic understatement. To think that just 10, maybe 20 minutes after that seemingly calm report, the ship, the crew, everything just vanished.
No distress signal.
None. No time for life jackets, lifeboats. It speaks to something catastrophic, unimaginably fast and violent.
Like the lake just swallowed it.
Pretty much.
And Captain Cooper on the Anderson, turning back into that storm to search. That's incredible bravery.
Absolutely. Knowing the risks, it's a powerful testament to the bond between sailors, the sense of duty.
But their search found only debris. Lifeboats, jackets, a raft.
Scattered debris, yeah. Grim confirmation of the sinking, but the lack of bodies, the fragmented wreckage found later, it just deepened the mystery about the exact cause, the final moments, haunting questions about the forces involved.
When they finally found the wreck, May 76, it was in two pieces, 530 feet down.
Yes, two distinct main sections on the lake floor. That discovery itself strongly suggests immense, overwhelming forces acting on the ship.
So what are the main theories trying to explain that kind of catastrophic failure?
Well, the most prominent one centers on the sheer extremity of the weather. That NOAA simulation from 2005 showed incredible wind speeds, huge wave potential.
How big are we talking?
Average waves maybe near 19 feet, but potentially individual waves hitting 36, even 46 feet high. Just incredibly violent conditions for any ship.
Then there's the rogue wave idea, the Three Sisters.
Right. A series of abnormally large waves hitting in quick succession. Captain Cooper on the Anderson reported being hit by two massive waves himself, right around the time the Fitzgerald vanished from his radar.
So that adds weight to it.
It certainly lends credibility. If the Fitzgerald encountered something similar, maybe even three huge waves, one after another, that's a plausible scenario for sudden catastrophic failure. Could overwhelm the structure, cause massive flooding, or just break it apart. Explains the sudden silence and the broken wreck.
What about the hatch closure theory? The Coast Guard initially pointed to that.
Yes, the official 1977 report highlighted ineffective hatch closures. The idea was gradual flooding through poorly sealed hatches, leading to lost stability, then sinking.
But didn't later footage challenge that, showing the hatch clamps looked okay?
Exactly. Underwater footage showed most clamps seemed secured or undamaged. That casts significant doubt on widespread hatch failure being the main cause of such a rapid sinking.
Though maybe some leakage could have contributed.
It's possible. Some hatches might have leaked, and in those waves, even gradual flooding could worsen things, affect stability. The debate is really whether that alone could cause such a fast, catastrophic loss for a ship that size.
Okay, lastly, the structural weakness theory.
Possibly made worse by those winter load line modifications, allowing heavier cargo.
And there was testimony about the ship bending, cracking.
Yeah, former second mate Richard Orgel reported seeing the ship noticeably flex in heavy seas, even finding cracks in side tunnels. It paints a picture of a ship maybe already having vulnerabilities.
So the heavy load, the massive storm, pushing a weak point too far?
That's the idea, a combination of extreme forces on a potentially compromised structure. Could explain the sudden breakup, the two pieces on the bottom.
It's still such a haunting mystery. So many plausible theories, but nothing definitive after all this time.
It really is. It underscores the power of the Great Lakes, the dangers sailors face.
A real, enduring reminder of nature's force and the limits of engineering against it. The lack of a single answer just adds to the tragedy.
Absolutely. It resonates still, not just in the maritime world, but with the public, too.
Okay, let's move to a more recent and equally disturbing case. The Bumblebee Road Murders. Scottsdale, Arizona, 2003.
A very different kind of tragedy. A young couple, Lisa Garand and Brandon Rumba.
Killed while celebrating their anniversary. What are the key initial details here?
The victim's youth is immediately striking. Lisa was 19, Brandon 20. Celebrating their first anniversary, recently engaged. So much hope.
And they were just camping, a romantic getaway.
Seems so. In a remote spot off Bumblebee Road. The setting itself, this seemingly innocent trip turning so violent, is profoundly disturbing.
And the detail about borrowing Lisa's mom's truck, taking her video camera,
Right.
wanting to capture those memories.
It's heartbreaking, isn't it? Adds such a poignant layer to the senselessness of it all.
There was also that detail about Lisa asking her mom not to tell her Uncle Mike where they were going, because the spot had a reputation.
Yeah, as a party spot. That hints at maybe some awareness of potential risk, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Suggests they weren't totally naive about the location.
A level of caution that tragically wasn't enough.
Seems that way?
Their last known stop was a grocery store, buying a disposable camera.
Mm-hmm. Again, wanting to capture the moment.
And those last photos on it, Lisa and Brandon smiling in the truck bed. Must be incredibly painful for the families to see.
Oh, absolutely. A permanent record of their happiness just hours before their lives ended so brutally. The contrast is just devastating. Makes the loss even sharper.
And then there's that really weird photo, the overexposed one, of an indoor light fixture.
Yes, so incongruous. Just doesn't fit. Found among their things.
And the speculation about it. Where was it taken? A local place near Bumblebee Road. Or could the killer have taken it?
That's the unsettling question. It's a classic example of a tiny, seemingly irrelevant detail that, in an unsolved crime, just generates endless theories. It's ambiguity, accidental shot, a stop they made, or something much darker taken by the perpetrator. It keeps the mystery alive. Shows how investigators try to piece together every last second, looking for any clue, however small.
The discovery itself. Finding them in the back of the truck, both shot multiple times.
Yeah, multiple gunshot wounds.
Hmm.
Suggests a deliberate, exceptionally violent act.
And the weapon was unusual, a .5 caliber handgun.
Relatively uncommon, yes. Which could be a key link if the gun was ever found or traced.
And found in sleeping bags. Maybe attacked while they were asleep?
Tragically, yes. Suggests vulnerability, being defenseless against that level of violence.
Okay, let's talk theories. One focused on someone they knew. Jealousy, maybe.
Right. Specifically, a friend of Brandon's who reportedly had feelings for Lisa.
And this friend was in the group that found the bodies and left the state afterwards.
Yes, all factors that would raise initial suspicion.
But he passed a polygraph.
He did, apparently. Which complicates things. Polygraphs aren't foolproof, not always admissible in court, but they are an investigative tool. A pass might shift focus.
Though the detectives still had doubts, reportedly.
Because you can't rely solely on polygraphs. Need to weigh all the evidence. The detective's lingering questions highlight that subjectivity.
What about a random attack? Robbery gone wrong, given the remote area, the party spot reputation.
Plausible, yeah. The isolation makes them potentially vulnerable targets. And there was that similar crime nearby 6 months later, Rusty Rankin.
The guy who died by suicide after a standoff, was there a link?
Investigators would have looked, definitely. But no definitive link was ever established between Rankin and the Bumblebee Road murders. Plus, Lisa's family doubted robbery was the main motive.
Why?
The multiple gunshots seemed excessive for just robbery, and apparently things of value were left in the truck, except the video camera.
Ah, the missing video camera. That's significant.
Right. What was on it? Did it capture something?
Another loose thread. Brandon reportedly argued with some guy the night before they left.
Yes, an unidentified man. Described as 40s, white husky build, white t-shirt, blue jeans.
Any conflict before a death is crucial to check.
Absolutely. Could it be someone they knew? Someone seen near the apartment or even near Bumblebee Road? But without an ID, it's just speculation. Hard to track down someone from a brief encounter description.
There was also a mention of a lead involving a Michael Villers and a black Ford truck seen near the scene.
Yes, sounds like investigators pursued that. Whether Villers was cleared or if it's still an open line of inquiry, the status was listed as unclear. Common in complex cases, leads get followed, ruled out, or stay open. Hard to know the significance without more info.
And we circle back to that overexposed photo.
Baffling photo, yes.
Theories from them stopping somewhere mundane to the killer taking it post-mortem. It really feels central somehow.
It's a powerful symbol of the unanswered questions, isn't it? The range of theories just shows the struggle to reconstruct those final hours, the desperate search for any clue that might unlock it. Investigators are probably still trying to figure out where that photo was taken.
Such a sad, frustrating case. A young couple just starting out, brutally killed. No clear motive, no suspect. Just haunts you.
It really does. A stark reminder of vulnerability and the devastating impact of unsolved violence on families, on the community. The lack of closure is a constant pain.
Okay, moving from Arizona to Aurora, Colorado, 2004, the murder of Oki Al Albert Kite Jr.
Another deeply disturbing one. Chilling details here suggesting real premeditation and extreme violence.
What was your first reaction to the circumstances of Al's death? The sheer brutality.
It's the combination, isn't it? The meticulous planning by the killer, this Robert Cooper alias, alongside the extreme brutality inflicted on Al Kite. It's deeply unsettling. Points to a profoundly disturbed individual.
And Al seemed like such a nice, trusting guy.
Exactly. Maybe those qualities made him vulnerable to someone so calculating, so ruthless. The torture, the unusual way he was bound, the killer's bizarre behavior afterwards. Staying in the house for days. It speaks to a chilling level of control and disregard for life.
This Robert Cooper character responded to Al's ad for a basement tenant.
Presented himself as a professional, claimed he worked for Wells Fargo, needed temporary housing.
Setting up that trust, that normalcy right off the bat, making Al feel comfortable opening his home.
Absolutely. A carefully crafted persona designed to gain trust. Claiming a reputable job, a plausible story, it's classic manipulation. The crucial first step in this deadly plan shows how easily trust can be exploited.
The last contact anyone had with Al driving his friend Linda to the airport, May 22nd.
Right. And their phone call after she landed.
She said he seemed unusually quiet, and she felt Cooper was there in the house.
Yes. A truly chilling detail in retrospect. It suggests the killer might have already started exerting control, or Al sensed something was wrong, a tragic indicator of the imminent danger he was in.
And the murder itself, believed to have started soon after that call. Cooper likely struck him from behind on the basement stairs.
Evidenced by the wound on the back of his head.
What followed was just horrific. Prolonged torture, bound in that strange, skilled way. Hands behind back, feet to wrists, ligatures above elbows and knees. That's not common, is it? Suggests specific knowledge.
It's deeply disturbing, yes. It suggests experience or training or deliberate research into these methods. Investigators noted similarities to techniques associated with Turkey. It underscores the premeditated, sadistic nature, way beyond just incapacitation.
And the torture. Incredibly cruel, stabbed 22 times above the eyes, in the eardrums, severe beating, and that fogging of the soles of his feet, also linked to Turkey.
The level of violence is extreme, gratuitous, targeting vulnerable areas like eyes, ears. The specialized foot torture. It strongly suggests a perpetrator deriving sadistic pleasure from inflicting pain, reinforces the image of someone exceptionally cruel whose motives went beyond just robbery.
And the killer's behavior after Al's death, almost as disturbing.
Cleaning himself in Al's shower, changing into Al's clothes, eating in his kitchen, sleeping in his bed for possibly 2 days.
It's like this bizarre entitlement or ownership over Al's life, his space.
That's highly aberrant behavior, shows a profound lack of remorse, empathy, a chilling detachment. Often seen in individuals with severe personality disorders, complete disregard for norms, for human life.
What's also chilling is how meticulous he was about destroying evidence.
Wiping surfaces, pouring bleach down drains.
Submerging glasses, knives, a pen, car keys, and bleach. That's not a crime of passion, that's calculated.
Exactly. Shows planning, a basic understanding of forensics. Using bleach to degrade DNA, eliminate fingerprints.
Yeah.
A deliberate attempt to cover tracks. Further underscores the premeditation, the intent to evade capture.
And then after all that, Cooper drives Al's truck to a Wells Fargo ATM.
Wearing a ski mask and gloves, yes. Withdraws $1,000, uses Al's credit cards.
Before abandoning the truck nearby. And Al's cell phone turned up later, too. Location unclear.
It seems like a mix of motives. Financial gain, plus continued efforts to exploit Al's resources while distancing himself from the scene. Using the ATM disguised shows audacity, belief he wouldn't be caught. Abandoning the truck nearby as strategic disposal of evidence without raising immediate alarm. The phone, Another piece of the puzzle for investigators.
And this Robert Cooper alias was completely fake.
Clearly fabricated.
Bought a prepaid phone 2 months before, waited 30 days to activate it to avoid surveillance.
Likely, yes. Circumventing camera footage retention periods. And the phone was only used for rental inquiries.
Plus fake info on the rental agreement. SSN from an elderly woman, elementary school address, retirement village reference.
The level of planning is remarkable. Chillingly meticulous. Creating a disposable identity just for this crime strongly suggests it wasn't spontaneous, but carefully orchestrated.
And he apparently approached other landlords too.
Yes. One woman, teaching Romanian, felt uneasy about him, noted a slight Romanian accent.
Interesting, because witness descriptions varied so much, right? Some mentioned an accent, some didn't. Age estimates all over the place. Mobility issues sometimes, sometimes not.
Exactly. Late 20s to mid-50s, sometimes used a cane or limped, other times seemed fine. It strongly suggests he was deliberately altering his appearance, his mannerisms, employing disguises, a chameleon. Makes creating a consistent profile incredibly hard for police.
Okay, let's look at the main theories. One is that Cooper was a professional hitman or assassin.
It's compelling, given the planning, the forensic awareness, those specific binding and torture techniques suggest training or expertise beyond a typical criminal.
And Al's job at Stone and Webster. Connections to sensitive industries, Lawrence Livermore Lab. Could he have been targeted because of work?
It raises the possibility, naturally. Although no concrete link to his work has ever been established. Still, it remains a significant area of speculation. The professional hit theory fits many elements.
Another theory
Serial killer.
also fits certain aspects. The lack of a clear personal or financial motive for targeting owls specifically. Selecting victims via rental ads.
The ritualistic elements. The binding. The torture. The brazen confidence staying at the house. These align with some serial killer patterns. There's been speculation about links to other unconnected cases, but nothing confirmed.
The name Israel Keys has come up too.
Yes, the notorious serial killer active around that time.
Similarities in planning, kill kits, traveling extensively,
There are some superficial parallels. Meticulous planning, travel.
and maybe a slight resemblance in the ATM photo, though it's low quality. And the time frame fits Keys' activity.
True. But there are weaknesses. Keyes usually targeted couples or individuals in remote spots. His known torture methods weren't quite the same as those used on Al. And crucially, he never confessed to this crime. Never mentioned Colorado activity at that specific time.
So, an intriguing possibility, but no solid evidence.
Exactly. Investigators likely looked into it, but nothing definitive connects Keyes here.
Finally, that brief mention of a Balkan connection.
Right. That likely refers back to those unusual binding and torture methods, the fogging of the feet, the specific ligatures, reportedly associated with regions in the Balkans.
So investigators might have looked into individuals with ties to that region.
It's a logical avenue,
Oh,
exploring if anyone with that background was in Aurora around that time.
Al-Qaed's murder is just chillingly perplexing. The planning, the brutality, and Robert Cooper just vanished. Left behind fake identities. So many questions.
It truly is a stark illustration of highly dangerous, cunning criminals capable of heinous acts who then just disappear. Failing to identify him leaves such a deep sense of unresolved injustice.
Okay, now we cross the Atlantic. Vatican City, summer of 1983. The disappearance of 15-year-old Emanuela Orlandi.
Ah, the Orlandi case.
Yeah.
Almost legendary. An intricate web of intrigue, Vatican connections, bizarre twists. It's decades old and still baffling.
What are your first thoughts on this one? Its complexity.
It's a labyrinth. The fact it happened inside Vatican City immediately gives it this unique, incredibly sensitive dimension. Then you have decades of mysterious calls, links to organized crime, international politics possibly playing a role, and just a persistent, frustrating lack of answers about what happened to this young girl. It's become one of the most captivating and enduring mysteries.
Her last known moments? Leaving a flute lesson in Rome, meeting a friend near Piazza Navona,
Raffaele Manzi, yeah.
mentioning a job offer from an Avon rep seems so normal.
Right. Then they part ways. Emanuela reportedly stayed at a bus stop, Piazza Sant'Apollinare, talking to an unidentified girl with dark curly hair. That's the last sighting.
That last sighting, so crucial but so frustratingly vague, and the Avon job offer, that becomes a recurring confusing theme, doesn't it?
It does. That seemingly everyday detail gets woven through the early stages, maybe deliberately misleading. Adds to the confusion about her final moments before she vanished.
The aftermath, her family frantically searching, contacting Vatican authorities, who initially told them to wait.
That Initial delay
Mhm.
seems questionable, especially given the location. In any missing person case, especially a minor, that initial response is critical.
Hindering the investigation from the start, maybe?
Potentially, it might have allowed valuable time to pass, evidence to be lost, leads to go cold. It certainly fueled speculation about reluctance or obstruction within the Vatican.
Then there was Julio Jenny, an intelligence agent, family friend.
Took it upon himself to investigate early on, questioned police near Palazzo Madama, tracked down a dark green BMW with the window broken from the inside.
Sounds like a promising lead.
It did, linked to a woman. But then Jenny was abruptly removed from the investigation.
Really? Why?
Unclear, but it raises serious questions. Fuels suspicion of a cover-up or an attempt to steer things away from sensitive areas. That BMW detail just vanishing hints that powerful forces may be controlling the narrative.
Then came that barrage of bizarre phone calls.
Oh yeah, bewildering.
Pierluigi, talking about a girl like Emanuela, calling her Barbarella, selling Avon near Campo de Fiori, and the weird coincidence about calling from a seaside restaurant when Emanuela's friend was actually at the seaside.
So strange. The level of specific detail suggests the caller knew something, direct or indirect. The seaside restaurant thing, remarkable coincidence, or deliberate misdirection.
And then Mario, the bar owner. New kid selling Avon, one named Barbara from Venice who'd run away but was coming back for her sister's wedding, which matched Emanuela's sister's upcoming wedding.
Uncanny alignments. And during that call, a second voice corrected Mario's height estimate.
What?
Yeah. Suggests multiple people orchestrating these calls. What was their real purpose? To inform or obscure?
The Italian Secret Service getting involved, telling the family to record the calls. That shows how seriously they took it.
Absolutely. Whether they saw them as real leads or disinformation, they knew these calls were potentially critical, trying to find a pattern, identify voices.
Then came the American.
Changed everything.
American accent, claiming to be terrorists holding Emanuela, demanding the release of Mehmet Ali Afka, the Pope's would-be assassin.
Suddenly, it's an international kidnapping. Political motivations. Letters from a Turkish anti-Christian Turkish Liberation Front linked Emanuela's disappearance to this huge global event.
Added another layer of complexity.
A massive one. Dominated the early investigation.
And the audio recording found in July, after an anonymous call. Supposedly Emanuela's voice, distressed. Her uncle confirmed it.
Must have been devastating for the family. Confirmation she was alive, perhaps, but in terrible distress. Added huge urgency.
But the demands from the American became erratic.
Very. Shifting from Aska to other Turkish individuals, claiming she was in different places, playing alleged voice clips.
It started to feel less like a real negotiation, more like manipulation.
Exactly. Seemed like a deliberate campaign of disinformation. Maybe to distract, confuse, or serve some other hidden agenda entirely unrelated to Emanuela's fate. The voice clips, without proof, just added to the feeling of being played.
Okay, jump to 2008. Sabrina Minardi's testimony.
Hugely controversial. Former lover of Enrico De Pettis, head of the Banda della Magliana crime gang.
Her claim. De Pettis kidnapped Emanuela on Vatican orders, delivered her to a Vatican official. Body thrown in a concrete mixer.
Explosive allegations. Led to De Pettis' tomb being exhumed. He was buried in Basilica, strangely enough.
But they found nothing. No trace of Emanuela.
Nothing. And Minardi's credibility has been seriously questioned since. Her story changed over time. So that theory remains largely unsubstantiated.
So after decades, what are the main theories still standing? Banda della Magliana involvement. Kidnapping for leverage against the Vatican. Linked to financial scandals.
That remains prominent. The gang was powerful, had connections, kidnapping Emanuela to pressure the Vatican over money or secrets. It's plausible, though unproven. De Pettis' Basilica burial fuels that speculation, too.
Or the Vatican secrets theory. She stumbled onto something. Internal power struggles.
Given the Vatican's opacity, its history. It's a persistent theory. Maybe she knew too much. Or her disappearance was tied to internal conflicts. Hard to prove, but the Vatican's resistance to outside investigation feeds it.
Human trafficking. Targeted because she was a Vatican citizen.
Less prominent, but raised. Perhaps seen as vulnerable or exploitable due to her unique status. Again, no concrete evidence.
And recently, those Vatican documents suggesting her uncle, Mario Meneguzzi, might be involved. Alleged harassment of her sister.
That added a painful personal dimension. But the family strongly denies it. Shows the divisions, the lack of consensus even within the family, just more complexity.
Finally, the serial killer theory, active in Rome around that time.
Proposed by a judge and a journalist. Suggests it might not be political or Vatican-related, but a random tragedy. She could have been a victim of an offender operating then. Explains the lack of motive, but hard to prove without linking her to a known killer.
Emanuela Orlandi. Still one of the most baffling, debated mysteries. So many layers, conflicting theories, no resolution.
Truly. It's a case study in how some mysteries endure, fueled by rumors, secrets, and that constant hope for answers, for peace, for the family.
Okay, let's shift locations again. Cape Elizabeth, Maine, 2005, 2006, the Cape Intruder.
A very different kind of case. Not murder or disappearance, but deeply unsettling intrusions.
Can you describe what was happening?
Residents were waking up in the middle of the night to find an unknown man silently standing in their bedrooms, just watching them sleep.
That is incredibly creepy.
Deeply disturbing. He'd apparently flee if they woke up and noticed him. Left no trace, no forced entry, nothing stolen, no motive beyond just watching. A profound violation of safety and privacy.
And it happened more frequently over time,
Yeah.
peaking in late 2005.
Yes, the increasing frequency would have created this pervasive fear in the community. Your home is supposed to be your safe space. Knowing someone could just silently enter, watch you while you're vulnerable, the psychological impact would be immense.
There was that chilling account from a teenager. Woke up, saw a man in her doorway.
February 2006. Described him as average-looking, early 20s, dark clothes. He just left when she sat up.
And her parents in the next room heard nothing.
Nothing. Underscores his stealth, his ability to move undetected, and his calm departure suggests a disturbing detachment, maybe motivation beyond typical crime.
The police investigation must have been tough.
Incredibly challenging. No physical evidence at all. Nothing stolen or disturbed besides his presence. Made it exceptionally hard to identify a suspect or even confirm who he was beyond those fleeting sightings.
Relying just on eyewitness accounts from people woken from sleep.
Exactly. Brief sightings, stressful circumstances, highlights the difficulty of investigating based solely on testimony like that.
They did release a sketch, though, based on those accounts.
Yes, but it ended up being pretty generic. Young man, average looking, not much to go on, didn't provide distinctive features to help identify someone.
And then the incidents just stopped abruptly after February 2006.
Just as mysteriously as they began, which is almost as perplexing. Did he move away? Get caught for something else? Just stop for unknown reasons? Left the community with lingering unease, unanswered questions.
There's been some skepticism about this case, hasn't there? Lack of physical evidence, limited official records, or big news coverage.
Understandable skepticism, the possibility of misinterpretations on waking, sleep phenomena, even community anxiety contributing. You can't entirely dismiss it without physical proof.
But the consistency across different households.
That lends credibility, yes. Multiple independent reports of the same unusual activity makes it hard to just dismiss all the accounts. The lack of a clear alternative explanation is also a factor.
It's a really odd, unsettling one, the Cape Intruder. More questions than answers about this silent watcher.
It truly is a chilling example of unexplained events disrupting a community's safety, leaving that lasting mystery and unease.
Okay, next up. The Uinta Mountains in Utah, summer 2004, the disappearance of 12-year-old Garrett Bardsley.
Vanished during a camping trip. Not an official Boy Scout activity, but with a group of boys and adults, including his father.
What were the key circumstances around his disappearance?
He vanished from a campsite near Crystal Lake, a seemingly supervised setting. The timeline is crucial. Went with his dad to the bathroom near the lake, then returned to the campsite alone to quickly change wet socks and shoes. Promised he'd be right back.
What was he wearing? Carrying anything?
Blue t-shirt, dark blue windbreaker, gray sweatpants, white Converse shoes, carrying a short fishing pole. But no backpack, no provisions. That lack of preparation immediately raises concerns if he got lost.
And the search started fast when he didn't return in 20-30 minutes.
Frantic search, yeah. Father worried, adults searched, quickly escalated to search and rescue teams, Summit County Sheriff's Office. An immediate, intense response.
Sounds massive. Over 200 volunteers the first day.
Huge mobilization. Foot searches, horses, dogs, helicopters. Demonstrates the community commitment, the urgency. Sheriff's Office coordinating. They treated it very seriously from the start, hoping a swift, big search would find him.
Did the search dogs pick up anything?
Initially, yes. Tracked the scent from the campsite towards a beaver pond nearby. But the scent just ended there. No further trace found in that area.
A frustrating dead end.
Incredibly frustrating. Could mean he entered the water, washing the scent away, or was somehow transported from there, raised more questions, complicated the search, what happened at the pond.
Did they find any signs of a struggle at the campsite itself?
Reportedly, no evidence of injury or a struggle there. Suggests he likely left the area voluntarily, even if he meant to come right back. Makes a sudden, violent encounter right at the campsite less likely. Doesn't rule out other things happening shortly after he left, though.
The theories considered: getting lost, animal attack, abduction. None seem to fit perfectly.
Each has problems, you're right. Lost. Possible in that terrain, but the short distance he intended, the number of searchers, makes it less compelling. Animal attack. Statistically rare. Abduction. Remote area. Other campers nearby. No easy escape route. Seems less plausible, too. The lack of evidence for any single theory is what's so perplexing.
The big initial search went on for 6 days.
6 days, over 2,500 collective hours. Intensive effort before being suspended.
But the case stayed open. Missing person flyers continued.
Crucially, yes. Suspending the active search is tough, done when immediate options are exhausted. But keeping the case open means a continued commitment to investigate any new leads. A persistent, if faint, hope.
Another heartbreaking one. A young boy just vanishes into the wilderness. No clear answers. Unbearable for his family.
Garrett's disappearance is a somber reminder of the wilderness's unpredictability, the potential dangers, and the lasting anguish for families left without explanation or resolution.
Now to Lake Wenatchee, Washington, June 2013. The disappearance of 79-year-old Hildegard Hendrickson.
Retired professor, passionate mushroom hunter, very experienced outdoors woman.
What were the circumstances of her last known trip?
She went on a solo mushroom foraging trip near Lake Wenatchee, an area she likely knew well, recently burned, good for morels. Despite her age, she was known to be very active, physically fit, familiar with the wilderness, still pursuing her passion.
And there were sightings of her at the trailhead.
Relatively solid ones, yes. A Dr. Okos spoke with her around 1 p.m., advised against a steep trail due to her age. She politely dismissed it, confident in her abilities.
Then others saw her later, on the trail.
At least 2 others saw her ascending Minnow Creek Trail. One sighting placed her about a mile in, heading towards the Salt Peak Burn area around 2:30 or 3 p.m. These are crucial for establishing her last known location and direction.
Her car was found at the trailhead.
Light green Ford Focus, unlocked, windows slightly open, her purse with ID inside. Apparently this was common practice for her.
Suggests familiarity, trust, but also vulnerability, maybe.
In hindsight, yes. Easily accessible car and belongings. Raises questions if her trust was misplaced or exploited.
Who raised the alarm?
Igor Malvi, a fellow mushroom hunter who knew her from the mycology community, saw her car unattended after at least 2 days. Noticed the purse, recognized her name, contacted authorities. His vigilance was key.
And the search was extensive.
Very.
Yeah.
Started Tuesday evening, ramped up Wednesday. Dozens of personnel, grid searches, tracks believed to be hers found. Challenging terrain due in the recent wildfire.
Over 60 people involved eventually, helicopters, dogs.
Yes. Thorough search within a half-mile radius of her last known spot. Expanded the zone later. The only potential find was a nearly new plastic water bottle near Minnow Creek on day 5.
But nothing conclusive.
Nothing significant. After 6 days, thousands of hours, scouring high-probability areas multiple times, the active search was suspended.
So like the others, unsolved. An experienced outdoors woman vanishes in a familiar place. Deeply sad and perplexing.
Hildegard's story is poignant. A reminder of the unpredictability of nature, even for the experienced. Leaves that lasting sense of loss, lack of closure for those who knew her, for the community.
Okay, let's go back to 1985 again. St. Charles, Missouri. 13-year-old Scott Kishel.
Disappeared on a day with a severe thunderstorm, flash flooding.
What are the key details surrounding his vanishing?
His mom saw him playing near the house before she left for work. Despite the storm, witnesses saw him before and after the rain. Last confirmed sighting by a neighbor after the storm, walking alone, splashing in puddles. That timing after the storm is critical.
His parents got home, he wasn't there. Initially thought he was at a friend's because of the storm.
Common assumption. But he didn't return. Older brother searched, family knocked on doors, called police around 8 p.m. That delay, born of hope, happens often. But the growing alarm was clear.
The search the next day was massive.
Huge. Law enforcement, volunteers, specialized gear, focused on the trails. 30 acres, hills, paths, creek, caves, tunnels.
Sounds like a place a 13-year-old would explore.
It's exactly. Appealing, adventurous. Police also asked his friends about his usual hangouts, creek beds, railroad tracks, storm drains. Thorough approach.
The bloodhounds. They tracked his scent from home to the trails.
Yes, logical. But then the trail continued along Fox Hill Road for 5 miles, ending near an apartment construction site.
An area he frequented.
Reportedly, yes. It's promising, but perplexing. Does it mean he walked that way that day? Or is it sent from a previous visit? Hard to interpret scent evidence definitively without corroboration.
The initial theory, drowning in the flash flood.
Considered, given the storm, swollen creeks. But his family discounted it. He didn't like playing in water, wasn't his usual spot. And the last sighting was after the storm. Police chief later called it a misunderstanding, so focus shifted quickly to abduction.
More recently, Michael Devlin's arrest in 2007, finding Sean Hornbeck and Ben Ownby.
That triggered hope and a task force to check Devlin's links to other cold cases, including Scott's.
But no evidence linked him to Scott. He passed a polygraph about it.
Correct. Extensive investigation found nothing credible. The polygraph result, while not definitive proof, suggested he likely wasn't involved in Scott's case.
Then in 2013, Chuck Melly, the informant, claimed his ex-cellmate did it, had documentation.
Sounded promising. Authorities investigated for 7 weeks, but the prosecutor said no new evidence, no credible info was found. Another dead end, highlighting the unreliable nature of jailhouse info without solid proof.
And that anonymous Reddit post in 2016.
Bizarre twist. Described an accidental death of a weird, creepy kid in the 80s. Some similarities to Scott's case: time, location, description. Pollsters seemed to be about 11 at the time.
But the account was deleted. Police stuck with the abduction theory.
Yes, anonymous online claims are incredibly hard to verify. Without more, police likely didn't find it credible enough to change their main theory.
Finally, that 2011 search. A tip led them to search a house near Scott's old home, cadaver dogs drilling the garage floor.
Shows ongoing commitment to follow leads, even decades later. Serious effort. But sadly, nothing related to Scott was found.
Scott Kishel. Another deeply troubling case. Lingering for decades. Theories, leads. But no answers for his family.
A poignant example of that enduring pain and uncertainty when a child vanishes. The lack of resolution underscores the challenges of cold cases, the deep need for closure.
Okay, our final set of cases. Honolulu, 1985. Diane Suzuki, the 19-year-old dance student. And then a quick look at the bizarre Harvey McLeod taxi robbery in Modesto, 1996. Let's start with Diane Suzuki.
Vanished from the Rosalie Woodson Dance Academy. Key element. Her last known interaction was with the photographer Dewey Hamasaki.
She told friends she had to talk to him, then wasn't seen again.
Correct. And then her parents, waiting outside, saw Hamasaki and 2 other men carrying a large trunk out of the studio that same day. Very ominous.
The investigation started quickly, secured the studio as a crime scene.
Yes, evening of July 6th. Initial thought of voluntary departure quickly faded. Securing the studio was crucial given the circumstances. Early interviews tried to establish timeline, state of mind, person of interest. Hamasaki quickly became the focus.
Why him specific?
Several reasons. He reportedly had unreciprocated romantic interest in Diane, potential motive. He was there that day. Involved in moving the trunk. Had visible scratches he claimed were from a rooster. Could suggest a struggle. And he failed a polygraph.
Sounds like strong circumstantial evidence.
Very. Pointed strongly towards him. But the early investigation lacked direct physical evidence linking him definitively. So the case went cold for years.
Until luminol came along, early 90s.
Yes. First time used in Hawaii, apparently. Got a warrant for the studio bathroom. Luminol revealed invisible blood traces. Significant development.
Yeah, but there was a problem.
Yeah, they reportedly didn't have a sample of Diane's blood for comparison using DNA, which was still fairly new then.
Yeah.
Hampered linking the blood directly to her.
Then, 6 months later, they searched the Hamasaki family pig farm.
Yes. Found a rebuilt section of a stone wall. Hamasaki's father seemed agitated. Found clothes matching Diane's description buried under a recently removed banana tree stump. Soil tests confirmed the wall was rebuilt around the time she disappeared.
Seems incredibly incriminating.
Highly suggestive. Really strengthened the circumstantial case. Looked like potential concealment, a tangible link with the clothes, the timeline matching the rebuilt wall.
But despite all that, no charges. The prosecutor presented it to 3 grand juries.
Correct. City prosecutor Keith Kaneshiro, reportedly a family friend, but the court declined to press charges, cited lack of damning or conclusive evidence.
Wow. Shows how high the legal bar is, doesn't it? Especially without a body or a direct eyewitness.
Exactly. Proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt is tough. Without that definitive link, prosecutors might hesitate. The grand jury's decision highlights the complexities, the burden of proof, frustrating for investigators, for Diane's family.
Okay, briefly now, that Harvey McLeod taxi robbery. Modesto, 1996. Bizarre.
Truly unusual, using a fake bomb to force a taxi driver to rob a bank.
Can you just outline the sequence?
Harvey McLeod picks up a fair man in turban, fake beard mustache, speaks in a whisper. Claims he only has half the fare. Get rested, brothers. Then pulls out a black metal box, chains it to Harvey, wraps wire around his neck, claims it's a bomb, appears to activate it, forces Harvey to take another box, also claimed bomb, into a bank.
Unbelievable. So Harvey goes into the bank under duress.
Hands manager Denise Hutchinson a demand note. Staff, terrified, fill a briefcase with money. Harvey leaves with cash and the supposed bomb still attached.
What happened then?
Instructed to drive to a hardware store 15 minutes away. Leave the cab there with money, keys, he did. Then walked half a mile to a payphone, called police. Remarkable composure under terror.
And the police response? Bomb squad.
Rapid response, evacuated area, bomb squad called. Devices revealed to be elaborate fakes.
Yeah.
Huge relief, but underscores the psychological impact, the perpetrator's deception.
What about the investigation? Evidence?
Gathered evidence, witness accounts, bank footage, little detail.
Yeah.
Witnesses outside saw the unusually dressed man. No getaway vehicle info. Cab examined, fingerprints, DNA results unclear. Fake bombs analyzed, instructions left in cab suggested local knowledge. Extensive canvassing, background checks on Harvey. Nothing.
Still unsolved,
Oh.
as of Feb 2025.
Yes. Statute of limitations expired on robbery, but kidnapping charge still active. It's drawn comparisons to other rare fake bomb cases, pizza bomber, Baltimore cabbie, but no direct links found. Truly bizarre, unsettling crime.
So, as you can hear, these deep dives, they really present this complex, often disturbing web, intricate details, persistent what-ifs, so many unanswered questions. From a child's disappearance that seems straightforward but isn't, to these complex cases with calculated violence, maybe high-level foul play. They really highlight the fragility of certainty, don't they? And the haunting power of the unknown.
Absolutely. And what's insightful looking across them is how each one, despite being unique, touches on these universal human themes. Loss, fear, that relentless pursuit of truth when faced with the inexplicable.
You see the initial shock, the grief, then the tireless efforts of investigators, loved ones, lasting decades sometimes.
And the theories that spring up, trying to make sense of the senseless. And then often, that agonizing lack of definitive answers.
We've seen how tiny clues can become huge later, how new technology offers hope even for old cases.
And how that human desire for resolution just persists.
Yeah.
Fueled by memory, by dedication.
So think about the details that stood out to you today. Which possibilities felt most plausible? What questions are still turning over in your mind?
Those are the very questions driving amateur sleuths and cold case investigators alike. That ongoing effort to unravel these human mysteries.
Stepping back, these deep dives really remind us that not every story has a neat ending.
Sometimes, despite everything, the truth stays hidden, layered in uncertainty lost to time. We hope this exploration gave you a deeper understanding of these disturbing mysteries, maybe sparked your own curiosity to look further.
Thank you for joining us on this in-depth exploration. And now, as the echoes of these unsettling, unresolved stories linger, we leave you with a final thought to consider. In a world overflowing with information, what responsibility do we have collectively to remember these stories, to reflect on them, and maybe even contribute somehow to the ongoing search for resolution in these impactful, enduring human mysteries?